Anyone see where Salvi went? Alright, I'm going to take this opportunity to speak. I'm actually next up. My name is Antonio Buehler. I am the founder of the Peaceful Streets Project. I focus on homeschooling and alternative education solutions for families. And I just focus my life on trying to live freer and trying to help other people live freer. But I've had quite a week myself. So last Saturday, I was actually arrested in Austin, Texas, for the heinous crime of putting a sticker on the back of a stop sign. It was the 5th arrest I've had in the past 15 months, and prior to that, I've never had any issues with the cops. I actually went to West Point. I was a military officer. I got my MBA at Stanford. I worked at finance, and I was doing all the do-gooder stuff as far as people are normally concerned with here in society, and no one ever thought that I'd ever be an issue for the police, so to say. But on New Year's Day 2012, I saw 2 cops in Austin roughing up a female, pulling her out of the car, throwing her to the ground, ripping her arms behind her back. And I decided to try to take some pictures and call them out, tell them to knock it off. And one of them assaulted me, started pushing me around, and then charged me with felony spitting in his face, which carries 2 to 10 years. Fortunately, someone was taking video of that, and that changed the complexion of things quite radically. And so, you know, I've been fighting that, and I'm beyond that now. But, you know, the reason I moved to Austin, Texas was to be freer. I was living here in New York City, and I felt that I was not free here. I needed to get out. And so I fled to Austin, which I felt was the liberty destination of the universe. But great things are happening in Asheville and New Hampshire as well. but I moved there to be around other liberty-minded people. And thank God I moved there, because once I got arrested, they just rallied up and they came to my defense, and they really helped me hold the police accountable. Early on, all I wanted to do was be free myself. I just wanted to get out from under the boot of the Austin Police Department and the state there. But as time went on and as more people joined on to support me, I saw that as an opportunity to expand liberty or freedom. And I know that a lot of people have different definitions of liberty, freedom, anarchy, and there's a big mess that's going on right now with some anarchists saying that other anarchists aren't true anarchists, and John Bush is going to talk next, and he's going to say some good stuff about that whole battle. But I just believe that we should always be striving towards a freer existence for ourselves and others, and we should be fighting oppression. And the oppression doesn't have to be the state, right? Oppression could be just really crappy neighbors who are stealing stuff from you, or who are hurting their kids, or you know, people who are holding guns to you and asking you for your money. Those are all forms of oppression. Corporations can oppress, and so we need to acknowledge that anarchy, or just a desire to live in a freer society, a more tolerant, loving society, doesn't have to be just about being anti-state. We need to address other forms of oppression as well. And I think that's where a lot of this, the friction comes in with this whole, well, I'm this type of anarchist, you're that type of anarchist. But, you know, as I was trying to push liberty and freedom, especially through homeschooling, trying to help parents free their kids from the indoctrination centers that are called public schools, trying to give their kids a situation where they can go ahead and learn to question things and to look for the truth behind issues, and to not just automatically bow down to and worship authority figures. You know, as I was doing that, this whole thing in Austin happened to me. And so we decided to launch the Peaceful Streets Project as a way to fight back. And at the beginning, I tried to play nice with the police, because I said, well, a lot of these guys are oath keepers, and oath keepers are good, right? And once the crap hits the fan, they're going to come out and protect us. They're going to stand up for us. They won't take our guns, for example. And I thought that they were going to join forces with us. You know, it was pretty obvious. We had video of a cop assaulting a woman, and then coming after me, and then saying that I spit in their face. So surely the good cops are going to step up and do something, right? But the fact is, cops are cowards, right? Cops are cowards. They don't have any courage, honor, or integrity, and they sit by and allow other cops to commit crimes. It's called the thin blue line. And I swear to God, I tried so hard to keep peppering into my interviews, media interviews, not all cops are bad. You know, we just want the good cops to stand up. And after a year and a half, not a single good cop has stood up. You know, and it's pretty clear that the idea that there's a good cop out there is a fantasy. It's fiction. And so cops challenge us, and they said that's not true. There's good cops all the time. Here's a link to a guy who bought someone a pair of shoes. That's a good cop. It's like, well, you know, I've done charity before. I don't get rewarded as a good homeschooling guy because I've done that, right? But I do have the Kelly Thomas video where they beat to death a homeless guy on video. And there was about 12 cops that joined in or covered it up right then and there. Where was the good cop in that situation? There wasn't one. I asked the police to come out with one story within the past 20 years of a cop who sees another cop committing a felony crime and then turns the pistol on that cop and says, "You're under arrest." No one has been able to do it. Now, one example, but we have seen hundreds of videos of cops committing felony crimes against people, and they sit back and do nothing, or they join in. But not one example of a good cop. I know that makes people upset. Fast forward to after I got out of jail, my first full day of freedom again, on Monday, and the Boston bombing happens. Right? And everyone starts tweeting about how terrible it is, and well, it's terrible, no question about it. But then people start tweeting about what a great job the Boston police are doing. Well, I looked at the video, and I honed in on the police, and the thing that I noticed was explosion, right? A lot of confusion, and the police start running away from the explosions while regular, clothes people are rushing in. EMT are rushing in. Even some National Guard soldiers rush in, and the cops are running away. One cop did not run away. One cop ran towards the scene. Okay? These are the so-called heroes that are out to protect and serve us. They take our money against our will. They do crap like stop and frisk here in New York. They kill people all the time. And then they go around telling us that we have to respect them and that we have to honor them and that they're heroes. And it's a bunch of BS. They're a bunch of criminals. Okay? And so then fast forward to what happened over the last couple days. Right? And concluding with last night. They have 9,000 cops engaged in a search for one person. Right? And granted, he's probably a bad guy if he did it, right? He's probably a bad guy. And you certainly want to get this guy. But they put the city under martial law. They locked people in their homes. They told them that they couldn't come out. They were going door to door, doing searches of these houses, you know, breaking into people's houses with guns. Yeah, sure, they were knocking and asking if they could come in, but you know, who's going to say no to a bunch of armed thugs at your door? And then when they finally kill this, they almost killed this guy, and they finally get him, they start celebrating. And as Cantwell said, it was disgusting because people are out in the streets celebrating and cheering the fact that they caught this one person, 9,000 cops for one person. And it's really disturbing because if you believe that we should live in a masterless society where there should be no masters, then what is the point of having this police state? But there's good news to this as well. There's good news because the fact that it took 9,000 cops to chase after one person should be quite telling, right? We don't need to have all of society join us and believe that that we should live without a state. We don't need to have 9,000, and you know, even a majority of the population to agree that we don't need police, right? All we need is a couple people. And if there's 1,000 people who refuse to obey, and they need 9,000 people per every person, that's 9 million cops. They're not going to get 9 million cops. The system will collapse on itself, you know, if people stand up and resist. The problem is how do you get people to stand up and resist, right? Because you know that the consequences are quite dire. And the answer to that is we have to identify, we have to come together and find alternative institutions, and we have to find solutions for the problems that we face. And one of the problems that we face is crime, right? People who are bad people, people who would hurt people, rape people, murder people, rob from people, those are bad people. Those are people that should be taken away from society, right? In whatever manner you want to suggest. But we don't need the police for that. We can go ahead and join together and find better ways of doing it. And what we're trying to do in Austin is we're trying to empower people to start protecting and serving each other. Forming alliances, coming to the aid of one another. We set up a phone line where people can call in when there's trouble, and people will come out and help them. And the biggest threat, unfortunately, at this time, isn't other petty criminals, it's the criminals that wear blue uniforms.
Yeah.
So by identifying alternative solutions, by creating other institutions that can deal with our problems, that's how we can move towards a state of more freedom, more liberty, less control by government or whatever oppressive institutions there are. What's not going to work is for us to just be on Facebook and complain. Okay? It's not going to... And something that too many self-described anarchists do is they sit there and they rail against people who vote. I'm not saying that voting is the solution at all, because it's not. But if the best that you can do is complain that other people are voting, you're missing the boat. You're not doing something right. Because, well, one, you can stop paying income taxes. That's a lot better than not voting. But two is you should be out there trying to create solutions. Help people figure out a better way to live their life. Another thing that we're doing in Austin, Texas, which is similar to the Free State Project and the Blue Ridge Liberty Project, is we're doing Lone Star Libertopia. And we don't care that there's multiple liberty destinations. It's awesome. It's actually beneficial. We don't take away from each other. We reinforce each other, and giving people different regions of the country that they can congregate in, and with different focuses. You know, where peaceful parenting is a big focus of what they're doing in Asheville. That's great. People who are more attuned to that, it's great. It's like the market, right? And we support each other, we celebrate each other, we lift each other up. Yes. But by doing stuff like Lone Star Liberty Lone Star Libertopia and other institutions or organizations or initiatives to bring people towards liberty and prove that there's better ways to do it. We can do it without the state, we can do it without corporations, we can do it without any sort of oppressive institutions. We can get there. And then when we go ahead and we bring people together and we show that there's better alternatives, then we can finally make that move where we tell the state that we do not submit, they have no validity, and that they need to get the hell out, because if they don't, you know, we're going to kick them out. So, I believe that the manner in which that we go about it is going to be different for each one of us. And there's going to be different talking points, there's different ways to bring people in. I think direct action is one of the best ways. You get people engaged, working with their hands, get out there talking to people, actually fighting the institutions as opposed to just posting on Facebook. You know, I think that's one of the best ways to do it. I think that attacking the police, the institution of law enforcement, is perhaps one of the most important though. For two reasons. One is, they are one of the easiest to explain, right? It's easy to explain how corrupt and evil government is just by focusing on the police. The government says that the police are here to protect and serve, and everything that the police do proves the opposite. They're here to oppress and control, right? And they go to the Supreme Court and they say that they have no duty to protect when you're getting beat, raped, or murdered, right? They actually take that argument to the courts. And so all we have to do is wake people up to that fact. You know, we can look at stop and frisk, right? They say there's probable cause, but it's like, what, 12% of the stops actually result in something?
6%.
Oh, even worse, yeah, 6%. And it's overwhelmingly, they're focused on blacks and Hispanics, right? But the incidences of arrests are no higher amongst blacks or Hispanics than they are white people. So why are they doing it? They're clearly not doing it to protect and serve. They cover up for each other's crimes. And it's amazing. If you guys want to see how messed up the institution is, how messed up the thin blue line fraternity is, go check out, what's that website? The cop website. I can't think of it offline. No. The pro-cop one. Police1.com, I think it is. Police1.com. Just go there, and every single time they have a story of a cop committing a crime, a really heinous crime, you just go read the comments that other cops are saying, and the cops are all making excuses for that cop. Well, I think I saw that guy lunging. Well, I thought he was reaching for his waistband. They literally talk about the talking points in which they can go ahead and get away with their crime. So by pointing out the criminals that are the police, the ones that people interact with the most, the ones that they think are here to protect us, that's the best way where we can just go ahead and undermine the notion that the government is here for our good and that they're here to protect us and take care of us. Because it's the exact opposite. And the second reason it is essential for us to attack the police, to undermine this notion that they are good people, that they're honorable, courageous people, and that they should be obeyed, is because when the government does decide to just take someone out, they're going to use the cops to come after us, right? And the more that we can undermine their legitimacy and authority now, the more we can get the populace to say, these guys are criminal thugs, they're here to hurt us, they are our enemies, then we actually have a fighting chance. But we saw what happened in Boston. An entire city was in the streets celebrating. Well, first they were hiding because the cops told them to. They wouldn't come out. And then they were celebrating in the streets afterwards because they got a 19-year-old kid. It was pathetic. We live in a crappy society. There's a lot of great things going on, but we live in a crappy society when people are out celebrating to capture this 19-year-old kid when they put the entire city on lockdown. So if you guys want to support us in what we're doing, Peaceful Streets Project, or any other group that's doing the same thing, such as copblock.org, just think about launching a program in your city.
Innocent Down.
Innocent Down's another great one, my client, yeah. So look, get involved, get engaged, start talking to people. What we do is we do cop watch, we expose stories of police abuse, we give victims a chance to share their stories with people. We do Know Your Rights trainings. We hold conferences where we bring together speakers so we can educate people and encourage people to stand up for their rights and stand up for one another. So you can start one of those programs in your city, or you can join one if there's already a Peaceful Streets or a cop block in your city.
Are you cop watching tonight?
We're cop watching tomorrow night.
Oh.
Tonight's karaoke. You can't mess with that. I'm going to be over here for the rest of the day. I'm also selling T-shirts for Peaceful Streets Project. We have no overhead, no one gets paid. So if you want one of these awesome T-shirts, just come on over. We'll take care of you. And seriously, if you can't do any of that, when you see a cop interacting with someone, especially if it happens to be someone who's from a community that's more likely to be abused, homeless people, blacks, Hispanics, gay, lesbian, transgender, poor people, those are the people who are most affected by the police. When you see something happening where a cop is talking to someone, if you can't do anything else, just rip out your camera and start recording. Because the moment the cop assaults that person, the moment the cop does something, if you start recording at that point, you miss your chance to exonerate that person and make sure that person doesn't end up in a cage. You have to capture the entire event. Thank God someone was doing that for me on January 1st, 2012. Otherwise, I would probably be in a cage right now, like too many other innocent people.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'm not. So let's come together. Let's stop fighting with each other. Let's stop finding excuses to not getting engaged. Get engaged with the Peaceful Streets Project. They're another one of the great organizations here. Thank you very much. I love you. Peace and liberty.